Oh, Bernie Sanders went on The View. Let's fucking go, dude.
Even the biggest detractors of Senator Bernie Sanders have to admit
extremely my shit. The greatest fucking television, the greatest television show, the GOAT, my king.
About telling Americans what he stands for, and he's very much on brand with his latest book called "It's Okay to Be Angry."
I'm gonna give you guys a lock here with like some detractors. This is going to be a more positive interview than any number of media outlets Bernie Sanders has gone to. I haven't seen anything. I don't know anything, but I'm gonna call it right now. Pre-watch Piker at it again. Maybe I'm wrong, but with some detractors, because there will be some anti-Bernie sentiment there. Because The View always has some fucking dumbass who's like, well, you say you're a socialist. But other than that, it's going to be probably one of the more positive interviews he's had. The View is truly a goated American institution. Yes, the best. Absolutely the best.
About capitalism. Please welcome back the leader of the Senate's Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, we watched CBS Face the Nation shit on Bernie.
So, Senator, over the weekend, President Biden made a surprise visit to Ukraine, as you know, days before the one-year anniversary of Russia's invasion. Some senators are advocating for sending fighter jets, long-range missiles, whatever Ukraine needs to win the war, but others are worried that it could provoke Russia even further. So, how do you feel about all that? Is there a line that you don't think the United States should cross, and how much help should we give them?
Well, look, what Putin did a year ago was absolutely horrendous. The destruction we're seeing in the Ukraine now is beyond words. Tens of thousands of young Russian men have died unnecessarily because of Putin's aggression.
Right.
And I think what the president is trying to do is bring the world together to tell Putin, you know what, you cannot invade independent democratic societies, and we're going to stop you. And if you don't, it just continues. So it's
bro, this motherfucker went to the USSR for his honeymoon, okay? Of course he's going to say the Ukraine, okay? He probably doesn't know the new way of saying Ukraine instead of the Ukraine. He literally still thinks the Ukraine means the border, okay?
Sahara, and I'll tell you why, in addition to only the destruction, at a time of pandemic, at a time of global warming, we need to bring the world together. China, Russia, the United States, Europe. And what Putin has done is split us apart, and that is a real horror.
It's a horror. And what do you make of some people saying that we're spending too much in Ukraine and we should be spending money here in this country?
Well, we should do both. But there are ways to, I think we've got to defend Ukraine. But obviously, we have enormous domestic problems in this country. We have 85 million people who have no health insurance. We have 600,000 people who are homeless. So obviously, we've got to address our needs as well. And as part of that, that's why.
Cop out? Bro. I'm a fucking dumbass Twitch streamer, okay? And when I even make assertions, like a slight fucking deviation from the State Department bottom line, motherfuckers go crazy. All right, let's.
I wrote the book. We have to deal with horrendous level of income and wealth inequality, where the billionaires are getting richer while the middle class continues to shrink.
Senator Nikki Haley has tossed her hat into the 2024 election, and she's calling for a mandatory mental competency test for politicians older than 75. I would argue it should maybe be for everyone, but which would include people, including yourself, President Biden, former President Trump. Now, you have called this ageism. Is there any conversation or concern to be had around age?
Well, sure there is, and it is conversation to be had about inexperience. There's conversation to be had about stupidity. You know,
yes.
You know, basically.
Yes.
Look, what politics is about in a democracy, you look at the whole person. Yeah. And as I've said before, you know, I've seen 90-year-old people who are sharper than some folks who are 40.
Yeah.
You know, and what we don't want to do, we've come a long way in this country in fighting against racial stereotypes, gender stereotypes, homophobia. And what we want to do is look at the entire person. You like that person? Good. You don't like that person? Fine. But age should not be the sole criteria.
That's right. We agree on that. Yeah.
Senator Sanders, I want to ask you about the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. Obviously, this is a huge environmental, but also public safety and health crisis taking place. Tens of thousands impacted. Do you think that the Biden administration has done enough to address it, and what more could be done?
Well, for a start, we want to make sure that there are not more derailments. And by the way, it's not only that derailment, there are a lot of derailments taking place. Over a number of years, what we have seen is more deregulation of the rail industry. Yes. Safety standards have been withdrawn.
Why is that?
Well, that's called money in politics and the power of the rail industry.
Well, and the Trump administration had a lot to do with
Yes,
that.
Bernie's like, oh, that's really funny you said that, because I wrote a whole book about that. Like, exactly that. You know, the book that I just wrote, it's about that. Alongside my entire career, my entire political career, about precisely that question.
They did. And you know, when you deal with the rail industry, understand they're making record-breaking profits. And among other things, they did not provide one paid sick day for their workers. Yep. And that's an issue we are dealing with some success right now. So I think you're seeing a lot of greed on the part of that industry. And we have to tell them, when you're carrying these very dangerous chemicals, you know what? We need strong safety standards.
Yeah, and let people know that they're being carried as
That's
well.
right. That's right.
You know, something you've been tirelessly fighting for is increasing the minimum wage for working Americans. I've so followed that. I grew up, as you know, poor in the South Bronx projects, people living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. Now, demands for the federal government to do this have gone unanswered, in my view, largely, but we are seeing some big companies step up and raise their hourly pay. Some companies, not enough. Do you think that's the fix?
No. Look, the fix is to say that in the richest country in the history of the world, if you work 40 hours a week, you don't live in poverty. Absolutely. And the idea that we have a federal minimum wage of $7.25, states have taken action to raise it. Many states have.
And it's stayed like that for how many years now? It's been like that for like.
It was passed in 2008, implemented in 2010.
It never changed.
Yeah.
So everybody knows that $7.25 minimum wage is a starvation wage. Now, we fought for 2 years ago a $15 an hour minimum wage.
Yes.
With inflation being what it is, I think it should be $17 an hour.
Yeah.
I think, you know, that should be the minimum. And I'm chairman of the relevant committee. We're gonna see if we can get Democratic support for it. But I gotta tell you, last time around, we did not have one Republican supporting a $15 an hour minimum wage. And I hope the American people tell my colleagues in the Republican Party, sorry, you've got to support a decent minimum wage.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I mean,
Sanders,
also Democrats
your
too,
new
though.
Book, It's okay
Let's
to
be
be
real.
angry about capitalism touches on a lot of topics, and one is how the working class vote has started to move away from Democrats.
Yeah.
You allude to this. Obviously, it helped propel Donald Trump to winning. A recent Reuters poll shows 52% of Democrats think that Joe Biden perhaps shouldn't run for a second term. Do you think he's the right messenger to win back those working class voters who have started to maybe move away, seeing the Democrats as a party of elites?
Well, I think he is, and he will be even stronger if he is prepared to make it clear. Look, I don't want to shock anybody in the room, but we are in the midst not only of a war in Ukraine, we're in the midst of a class warfare in the United States of America.
Yeah.
You all know what I mean by that? And what I mean by that is that the wealthiest people in America have never, ever had it so good in the history of this country.
Yeah.
You got 3 people owning more wealth than the bottom half of American society. Does that make sense to anybody?
No.
All right. No. You got over 60% of our people living paycheck to paycheck, millions working for starvation wages. We in this country should not only be raising the minimum wage, we should be doing what every other major country does, guaranteeing health care to all people as a human right.
Right.
Go off, King.
We should be telling the pharmaceutical industry, which is incredibly greedy, that they cannot continue to charge us the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, sometimes 10 times more for the same exact drug as sold in Canada or in Europe. So the bottom line is we have to bring our people together, black and white and Latino, Native American, gay and straight, and to create an economy that works for all of us, not just the 1%.
President Biden accused some Republicans of wanting to cut federal funding for Social Security and Medicare, caused a big uproar at the State of the Union. No. They say it's a lie. But
Well,
what
I
do you
don't
say?
they can't say it's a lie because they're on record, many of them having made that point. What they're essentially saying now is, we ain't going to do it. The American people understand that in these difficult times, the idea of cutting Social Security and Medicare is unacceptable. So they're backing off.
Did they back off after he said he challenged them?
Well, there's been a whole movement of people saying, you know what, look, half the workers, half the people in this country have nothing in the bank when they face retirement.
Nothing.
Yeah.
The last thing we need is to force people to have lower Social Security benefits. And on that issue, Joy, I have introduced legislation with Elizabeth Warren and others, which really addresses the crisis. This is what it does. Right now, we have the crazy situation. Somebody makes $10 million a year. Somebody makes $160,000 a year. They both contribute the same exact money into Social Security. If
True.
you lift that cap,
He's right.
starting at $250,000, you know what you could do? You extend the solvency of Social Security for 75 years, and you raise Social Security benefits, not lower them. And that's what we have to do.
I say.
Senator Sanders, we love having you here, but one place I didn't expect to see you was on TikTok. You are trending this morning because of a viral moment you accidentally had walking into a street on TikTok. Now, you had an option there. You join in on the dance, or you kind of stroll right through. What were you thinking?
I was thinking, my God, I am in New York City. My wife and I walked by. We didn't quite know what was going on.
Oh, I hadn't seen that. That is great.
It is a Larry David sketch, but it's actually your I love it.
Didn't you find out that you and Larry David are actually related to each other?
We found that out on the TV
On the Louis Gates program, Finding Your Roots.
Skip's program.
Yeah.
I'm doing that program later.
Me
this
too.
year. I'm a little nervous.
We're going to find out.
Find out
God.
who you're related to.
I know.
Careful.
I know.
Senator Sanders, can I ask you one thing we had kind of hit on in the break, but what do you make of Marjorie Taylor Greene? I guess broadly, but some of these characters who say very extreme things, how should they be dealt with? Do you push back? Do you...
You know, it's hard. Clearly, for many of them, they do it to gain attention, and you don't want to fall into that trap. On the other hand, you got to fight against conspiracy theorists and kind of hatred which they espouse. So it's a tough one.
Okay, we're going to plug your book, but it's okay to be angry about capitalism. But they're going to start screaming that you're a socialist, which you are, when they see this
Democratic
title.
socialist.
All right, but let's be clear and understand what the book is about the massive levels of inequality in this country. And it's also not just a critique, it's what I think is a sensible path forward. And saying that in the richest country in the history of the world, you know what? Not only should healthcare be a human right, but all of our people should have a right to higher education without going deeply into debt.
Yes.
Right.
You know?
That part is important because education is the great equalizer in this country.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'll give you another example, all right?
Quickly, I have 20 seconds.
All right. In Scandinavia, if you have a baby, you have 9, 10 months paid leave in order to bond with your baby. In this country, you got moms who are giving birth today who have to go back to work in a week or two to feed the family. We're the only major country not to have paid family and medical leave. So the bottom line here is we're trying to develop policies that work for all of our people, not just wealthy campaign contributors.
Bernie Sanders' new book is out now, and members of the audience are going